In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. My friend is about to ask his girlfriend to marry her, and I'm the only one who knows how unfaithful she is. Do I say anything? Not sure if this belongs in this sub because it isn't my relationship I'm asking for advice about. If not, apologies. TLDR, my friend is about to ask his girlfriend of 6 years to marry him, and I'm the only one who knows the truth about how unfaithful she's been to him. He's completely blinded by love, and to him she can do no wrong. I know it might not be my place to say anything, but I don't want him to make a huge mistake. So my good friend Aaron and his girlfriend Mary have been together for almost 7 years. They meet in college and are in a very close relationship. Personally, I would call them extremely codependent. Neither of them really have any friends aside from each other. She doesn't let him have guy friends. In fact, she doesn't let him do a lot of things. He's not allowed to go out past 11, not allowed to drink or smoke. She has to approve of all of his friends, and he's not allowed to be alone with other girls. She's got this guy on a tight leash. The reason why they're still together is that Aaron is completely whipped, and to him she can do no wrong. He talks regularly about how amazed he still is that she finds him attractive. They post cutesy couple photos every day, and to everyone who sees them they appear to be the perfect magical fairytale couple. Anyway, a few weeks ago he told my boyfriend and I that he was planning on proposing to Mary. Of course, we congratulated him because he seemed super excited. Now here's the issue. A few weeks prior to this, I hung out with a friend of Mary, Allison. Allison told me about a party they went to where Mary got drunk and slept with her ex. After the party they began hooking up regularly, and she had a threesome with him and a friend of his. Aaron has no knowledge of these hookups. I told my boyfriend about it because he shares my friendship with both of them, and he believes that we need to say something, but I'm not so sure how to even go about that. It will destroy him, ruin their entire relationship, and maybe a friendship as well. However, I think in the long term he will be unhappy with a marriage where she's so controlling. Not even that, but if she's completely okay with cheating on her long-term partner, it will be the same once they're married. Is telling him the right thing to do. Edit, to clarify, the cheating has not been going on for 6 years and the hookups occurred recently. Edit 2, some of the commenters are calling me a bad friend for not telling him immediately. After giving it some thought and reading the comments, I have decided to tell him as soon as I can, most likely tonight if he's free to hang out. To those saying I'm being a bad friend for waiting, this is a huge deal, and it will greatly affect the future of Aaron, and I want to make sure I break the news in the correct way. This man is blinded by love. He's not going to be expecting this news at all, and his whole life is about to change. I'm definitely not going to do nothing, because he deserves much better than this woman, and he deserves to know the truth about what he's getting into if he still decides to marry her. I'm expecting a full-blown crap storm. I'm expecting him to be hurt, angry, in disbelief. I don't believe it's wrong that I'm asking for a bit of advice on how to approach this. Should I have told him sooner? Maybe, but what difference would a few weeks make? For all those asking, I'll post an update when I do it. Edit 3, I've talked to Aaron since I posted this, and he is coming over tonight to talk, hang out. My BF and I are going to tell him together because he knows the situation as well. A few of you have suggested I talk to Mary first to give her a chance to come clean. While that's a good idea, I'm not as close to her as I am to Aaron, and I don't see that going over well. I would much rather tell him and leave it to him to decide what to do from there. Edit 4, new information has been received from the third-party friend Allison. She has sent me screenshots of texts that do prove Mary has been involved with her ex. They send messages regularly, and he has sent her nudes. Edit 5, Elmauel just mentioned that Aaron just got to our house. Will update later if I can. Thank you all so much for the kind messages and helping me work this hot mess out. I've been stressing about this all day, but I believe I am doing the right thing in telling him. Edit 6, quick little edit. We all talked for a good bit. I told him what I heard from Allison and it went better than expected, but he was still pretty mad and upset. We are all just chilling and drinking now. I'll post the whole story tomorrow. Thanks again for all the replies. Update. So I got lots of feedback on what to do here. A good majority of the commenters told me to say something. To clarify, it may not have been clear in the opus, but I was never planning on doing nothing. Of course you gotta tell your bro if they're being cheated on. I just was not sure how to approach the situation. Some of the commenters gave me some very helpful advice. Some of you told me to talk to the girlfriend first, some of you told me to wait, some told me to gather a bunch of evidence first, which I ended up getting from Allison, the third-party friend. Some of you guys got angry with me for not telling him sooner and told me I was a bad friend. Some were sure he wouldn't believe me, some predicted the GF would deny it all. Well, all of you were somewhat right. Here's how it went down. I messaged Allison early on in the day, shortly after I made the post, because typing it all out brought my guilt and apprehension from the situation to the surface. I said to Allison that I needed to tell Erin and asked whether or not she had proof. This was when she sent me the screenshots of the text messages. Erin came over at around 8, and what was great was that Allison came over too. We all sat down and talked for a bit, and we all told him our suspicions about Mary. Allison showed him the text screenshots of Mary talking to her ex, and also told Erin all the stories she shared about her sexual encounters. What was the most surprising was his reaction. He took it very well. He first got very quiet and just nodded. Erin ended up telling us that he had a sneaking suspicion that something was going on. He was not aware of the hookups, but he and Mary had gotten into fights before over the fact that she doesn't allow him near any other girls, but she goes out and flirts with other guys all the time. He told us that she had been distant lately and would leave rather often without telling him where she was going. There were a few other small things he mentioned that told us he was just generally unhappy with his relationship. He knew in his gut something was wrong, but wanted to believe it wasn't true. We started unwinding with some alcohol after that, and it all got way more emotional. He cried, talking about how he felt stupid for not seeing it sooner, how he really loved her and would have given her anything. Then he got angry at her, and even more so at the guy. Some unpleasant and derogatory terms were used to describe her. Ultimately, he told us that he's going to be breaking it off, at least for now. We told him a million times how much better he deserved. He's definitely not going to marry her. Thanks again all for the supportive words and advice. We saved a good man from heartbreak. Edit. Jesus Christ, this exploded fast. Thanks for all the kind words, people. Grinning face with sweat. Story 2. My wife went out last night and didn't come home until this morning. This is horrible. I'm furious right now, but I'm also depressed as hell. I know what I have to do. It's just killing me that I have to do it. It's fresh and it hurts a lot. My wife didn't come home last night. She went out with a couple of girlfriends, which is pretty normal for her. She's normally back around 2 a.m. on these nights, so I waited up. Around 2:30, I called to check in. She answered, and I could hear people in the background. She told me they went to a party but were leaving in a couple of minutes. She wasn't home by 3, so I texted. It delivered, but no reply. Around 4 a.m. I called again. It rang a couple of times before she sent me to voicemail. My wife finally came stumbling through the door at 6:47 a.m. this morning. I know the exact time because I was worried. She was wearing a dress she didn't leave the house in, with mesh leggings I've never seen either. The leggings had clearly been torn, and her makeup was smudged. My heart sank when I saw her. My immediate worry was that she had been assaulted. She only shook her head no when I asked her that. I asked her what she had been doing then. She only said that I knew what she had been doing, and that kind of confirmed what the voice in the back of my head had been screaming since she walked in. My wife cheated on me last night. I asked her who it was. She shrugged almost casually and said it was somebody they met at the club. She went back to his house and hooked up with him, then Ubered home. She then said she didn't want to fight and just wanted to sleep. So that's what she did. She's still asleep now and didn't even take a shower before passing out. Suffice to say, our relationship is over. We don't have any kids, and we rent, so it shouldn't be an extremely complicated process. I keep trying to reason myself out of it, pretending there might be something to salvage here. I've always maintained that cheating would be a red line for me though. I think I need to stick to that now. Small update, true update coming later, but for now. Alright, things have happened. I am no longer at home. I left. I wasn't able to get the day off work today though, so I'm writing this on my lunch now. It's been a struggle keeping myself together today, honestly. I've had to sneak off to the bathroom twice to cry. Crap's rough, dude. I'll post something more detailed later on because holy freaking crap, there's a lot. I'm exhausted. I've only slept about 4 hours total since this all happened. Does anyone know if I should post the actual update in a new thread or just update the one I already made? It's gonna be a lot of text, probably longer than the first one by a bit. Also, to the woman who felt compelled to send me a topless picture, thanks, but also no thanks. My heart just isn't in that sort of thing right now. Me again, folks. I'm sorry I didn't get around to this sooner. I wasn't able to get the day off work yesterday because my boss kind of sucks. I was a complete mess at work yesterday though, so I was allowed to take the rest of the week as vacation, thankfully. I think I went through all of the stages of grief while my soon-to-be ex was sleeping. I wasn't expecting my post to get any attention at all. I just figured I needed to try to talk to someone about it, because I was not in a good headspace. I made the post in the morning, and by noon she was still conked out in the bedroom. I had processed things a bit more, and I had a rough plan in my head that I was starting to set in motion. I made a short list of questions I wanted answers to, gathered up all my important documents, laptop, etc. Then I went into the bedroom and started packing myself a suitcase. I know a lot of folks wanted me to kick her out. I did consider it, but honestly I'm not overly attached to this place. We just rent, and I'm in a lucky enough situation to be able to say that paying half the rent for a few months isn't going to financially end me. It'll sting a little bit, I won't lie. But I'll make it, and I feel like being around this place is only going to remind me of her anyway. I need to be looking forward, not back. She ended up waking up about halfway through me packing my suitcase. There was momentary confusion as she looked around the room, then she just started bawling. Maybe this is awful of me, but I didn't bother comforting her. I told her I had the screenshots of her Uber and text messages from her phone, and that plus her confirmation was enough that things between us were completely done. She didn't answer me and just cried louder. I debated trying to continue the conversation, but I decided to just pack the rest of my suitcase and head back out to the living room until she came out. When she finally left the bedroom, she sat next to me on the couch and asked me if we could talk things through. I told her as calmly as possible that wasn't how things were going to work. I was going to ask questions, I wanted honest answers. She told me she'd be honest, so I proceeded. My voice was shaking the entire time. It was taking me everything to hold it together, but I kept going. Was this the first time she had cheated? She started crying before she answered that, then told me no. She had cheated on me multiple times over the course of our relationship. It was, and I'm going to use her words exactly here, just sex, a way for me to let off steam. None of it ever meant anything. I wrote a comment shortly after making my post that all the love couldn't just fade away in one swoop. Well, it can. It hit me right then that I wasn't dealing with my wife. The person I was married to literally wasn't in the room. This was someone different. She refused to tell me exactly how many times she had cheated, just more than last night. Had she used protection? No hesitation from her before she nodded her head emphatically. She seemed surprised I'd even asked that. I'm still going to get tested just to be safe. I did some research into timing and I'm going to look after it. Were her friends also cheating on their spouses? Yes and no. I tried to get her to tell me which of her friends were cheating so I could get in contact with their spouses. She probably should have, because her refusal led to me messaging pretty much the romantic partner of every one of her girlfriends I could find on social media. There are a couple I don't know or couldn't find, but I did my part. Why did she do it? This was the answer that gutted me the most. I'm going to use her exact words again. I need to have sexual variety. I told her that it's not like our sex life is dull. She clarified, it's not the same as something new. I didn't even have a response to that one. I had expected something about me working too much, or not supporting her emotionally. Nope, she just fucked other guys because she felt like it, and wanted to have some fun. When I didn't respond, she started asking me about counseling and therapy. I reiterated that our relationship was over. I'd be leaving. What she did next disgusted me. My ex actually tried to have sex with me. She put her hands on me and started trying to take off my clothes. I felt like I wanted to vomit and pushed her away after a couple of seconds. She just kept telling me that she would figure out a way to fix it, that we would work through it together. I told her that there was no way, and she started bawling again. She went to the bathroom and locked herself inside. I was just sick of everything at that point. I called her mother and told her what was going on. The full story too, the cheating, the questions I had asked, and the fact I was leaving. I've always had a good relationship with my ex's parents. They both decided to drive to town, which is about an hour for them. Once I knew someone was on the way, I just grabbed my things and left. Her waterworks in the bathroom were just annoying me because it felt hollow to me, especially given the answers to my questions. I ended up packing another bag before I left, and took all the things that I could think of that I felt sentimental attachment to, with me. I found a parking lot and sat in my car until I was able to get in contact with a buddy for a place to crash. I tried to take a nap, but I was running on way too much adrenaline. I knew when her parents had made it to the apartment because she started calling me. When I didn't answer those, she started texting me. She had gone from sad and crying to furious. Apparently I'm a freaking piece of crap for telling her mom everything. Whoops, I've received roughly 100 texts from her since leaving. They range from name-calling all the way to begging me to come back, to sending me pictures of the food she ate for some reason. I haven't responded to any of them. I feel like I said my piece before leaving. So that's where I'm at now. We didn't have joint finances, so that part was easy. I canceled all the subscriptions that go to my credit card just to be sure, and changed all my important passwords. I'm crashing on a friend's couch for the next bit, but I've got some feelers out to some short-term rental places until I can find something more permanent. I've got feelers out for a divorce attorney too. A co-worker of mine had a recommendation, so barring something better I'll probably go with them. I also wanted to say that I was shocked how supportive everyone was, and thank you for that. Truly, from the bottom of my heart. It isn't easy for me to talk about emotional things with people close to me. This was an invaluable venting place for me. Thank you all so much. TLDR, this wasn't the first time she had cheated on me. I packed up my things and left, and I think I'm on track to being in a better place. Working on initiating divorce proceedings now. Final update. Hey, folks, I'm happy, I guess, to say that this will be the final update to what has been probably the most difficult chapter of my life. I've felt an immense amount of support from the community here from my initial 2 posts, so I wanted to give a short update. Bottom line, my ex and I both signed the final papers for our divorce this week. It feels kind of surreal to think about that still. About 2 weeks into everything, she got resistant. I cut her off entirely and she refused to return my attorney's calls for a little while. Eventually things got back on track. As for the infidelity itself, I don't have a ton more details to share with you. We did a short mediation, and by that time I didn't feel there was any remorse on her end. I've talked about that a lot with my therapist. I'm in therapy, by the way. It still hurts that someone who I thought loved me could have apparently cared about me so little, but I'm working through it. That's really all I've got to share. Thanks again, everybody, for your advice and support. Story 3. Caught my wife cheating and it's brought me relief. I'm released from the turmoil. About 2 months ago, my wife expressed her desire for a divorce. She was unhappy in our marriage. She felt that I didn't support her emotional needs. I was too cold and too negative. I was shocked to the core. Our marriage was foundational to my identity. I have been a faithful husband for over 9 years, a great provider, and we've got 3 kids. Sure, we've had our problems, but it wasn't anything that we couldn't work through. I pleaded to give myself a chance to work on myself and to go to marriage counseling. She agreed to the counseling. The next month was the hardest of my life. I spiraled into a deep depression, trying to understand how I had screwed up so bad that my wife was ready to end our marriage. She was so hurtful in the ways she constantly brought up my failures over the past 10 years, our incompatibility, her unwillingness to forgive, etc. I threw myself into getting better. I sought help with the depression, read everything I could find on reconciling a marriage. I apologized and took responsibility for the pain I've caused. But it was never enough. It just pushed her further away. Then she backed me into a corner. She called my family to get them to help me, telling them I was suicidal. She wanted me to move in with my parents so I could work on myself, using our relationship as incentive to move out. We can't get better until you get better. She threatened to withhold our children, saying you are too unstable to be alone with the kids. I won't keep them from you. You can have supervised visits. She also threatened to have me evicted. We live on her family's farm so she could stay in the event of a divorce, but I couldn't. She said her mom was going to send an eviction notice. A few weeks ago, I finally started to seek guidance from friends, family, and a couple of attorneys. They couldn't understand her unwillingness to reconcile our marriage. We had a great thing going. Finally, an attorney suggested I hire a PI. It's legal to track the car she drives and look at the call, text logs with our cell provider. I haven't hired a PI, but I did look into her cell records. She started texting another man about 3 weeks before she brought up divorce. He is extremely wealthy, with children the same age, and is going through a divorce himself. She's been talking with the same attorney he is using for his divorce. Last week, I ordered a GPS tracking device to put in her car. It arrived at my office yesterday, so I charged it up and figured out the app. When I got home, I put the tracker in her glove box. She told me she was going to see her friend last night. A few girls were getting together to have some wine and adult conversation. They needed some girl time. After the kids went to bed, she showered, put on makeup, and left the house around 8 p.m. I pulled up the tracking app, and she didn't go to her friend's house. She went to the man's house she's been texting for 2 months. She stayed until after midnight before coming home. It all makes sense now, the unwillingness to reconcile, the regular overnights at her mom's house. I believe she's been cheating for a while. The proof of cheating has actually provided me some relief. In SC, you cannot get alimony if you've committed adultery, and you can avoid the requirement to live separately for 1 year before divorce. The burden of proof is quite low, basically just inclination and opportunity. I'm going to retain an attorney today and serve her with divorce papers as soon as I have adequate proof. I'm no longer stuck trying to save our marriage. I see she is not the woman I thought she was. She has been manipulating me, gaslighting me into thinking I'm the problem. Story 4. Found out my wife was planning on cheating. What do I do from here? I'm 35, she is 30. We have been together for almost 10 years, married for a little over 2. No house, no kids. Sorry if this is disjointed. I'm just numb with shock. A little over 2 years ago, I went to school to get my CDL and started trucking. We got married after I got my CDL. We got rid of our apartment and lived on a company semi-truck while I drove around the country. We had a sort of unspoken arrangement. She would do chores on the truck, and I would make all the money. She wouldn't have to work. In the last 2 years, I've bought her everything she wanted. Games, consoles, laptop, phone, tablet, whatever. She plays this game called Second Life, where she knows a lot of people. In June of last year, I bought her a plane ticket so she could fly to Portland, Oregon to visit a friend. And last month, she went to Memphis to visit another friend. I had weird feelings about the second trip. About a week ago, I had an incredibly vivid dream about her cheating on me with a friend online. Normally I would just dismiss it, but it stuck with me. Last night, she was playing on her laptop in the top bunk of the truck and gave me her phone to plug into the charger. I still had that weird feeling, so I decided to snoop through her phone. I never do this. And, it's funny, but I still feel like a pile of crap for doing it. I started by looking through her pictures for anything weird. No nudes, which was odd, because she sent them to me before. But whatever. I opened Facebook Messenger and went to the chat with her friend from Memphis and looked in the section where you can see past pictures that have been sent. Nothing weird. Then I saw the chat with this guy John. John is a friend from Second Life. She told me that he is autistic. He works on his family farm and doesn't really have a life. She encouraged him to get a job and was guiding him to getting his own car. I decided to look through those messages. Halfway down, I saw 2 pictures of her in somewhat revealing clothing. Annoying, but nothing too bad. Then I scrolled to the bottom and saw it. A bunch of her nudes, including 2 close-up vagina pics. The background was unfamiliar. I assume it was from her trip to Portland, judging by the dates. The first time she was away from me in months, and she did that. I confronted her and she started to freak out. She told me that she sold the pictures to him for money to buy more weed while she was in the legal state. When I started to scroll up in the chat, she begged me to stop because she didn't want me to read it and get hurt. I ignored her and kept scrolling until I found it. The top of the chat was cut off, like she had deleted the entire conversation before. And judging by his reaction, this wasn't the first time she sent him nude pictures. There was no mention of him buying them, so there's another lie. I suspect she has also had phone sex with him and cammed with him. He implied that he was going to use the pictures when he got home, and she wanted him to hurry home. Then John said when he gets a car, he can come pick her up, they can go to a bar to play pool, then smash. She replied that it sounded great, and that she would have no problem getting away from me to do it. I only saw the pictures and the chat around the pictures. I'm sure they refined the plans further. These were sent in June of last year. So for over a year, she's been sleeping with me, telling me she loves me, and living with me like normal. All while she was planning to smash this guy behind my back. She became hysterical and kept screaming for her phone. I assume it's because I had just found the tip of the iceberg and she didn't want me to see any more evidence. I was, and still am, completely heartbroken and furious. I've never done anything like this to her, not even close. She said she knew I would divorce her, grabbed what she could, and left the truck. She got a bus ticket to her friend in Memphis and left. I'm almost positive that she's done this before, but I have no proof of that. Only suspicion. Even while my world was collapsing, I had the presence of mind to screenshot the pictures and some of the chat. I send them to my phone. We got married in Florida. My CDL has since been switched to Kentucky, while hers is still in Florida. I currently work out of a distribution center in Illinois. How hard will this divorce be? She said she's willing to just sign the papers and go. How expensive will it be? What are the chances that she can get alimony from me, considering that I've completely taken care of her and have proof of her infidelity? What should I expect to do? Do I have to go to FL to get it done? Can I do it in Illinois? I don't wish her any ill will. I just want this to be over with. I can't dwell on it, or it will mess me up. It needs to be done as quickly as possible. I'm so lost. Our lives were so intertwined. We have a shared bank account as well. I've changed the passwords on everything I can remember. And I'm calling my bank on Monday to open a new account, cancel my card for the old one and get my name off of it. I cannot stop my work's direct deposit, so I am concerned about that. I have around $350 in this joint account, with a deposit of $1,000-ish coming on Friday. I don't think she would take it, but I don't know. I also have her on my Verizon account and still own probably $700 on the phone I got her. I don't know if I can split that off to another account. I'll probably be stuck with all the charges because she doesn't work right now. I'm sorry for the wall of disorganized text. I'm devastated. 24 hours ago, I was happily playing video games and planning a little vacation with her. Now I'm alone, broken, and repeatedly explaining to our distraught cat that mommy isn't coming back. But she never learned English, so it isn't working. I feel so terrible for searching her phone, and that our cat won't see her again. I don't understand why these things are hitting me the hardest. Someone please help me make sense of all this. I'm putting my major emotions on hold for now. I need to focus on the important things first. We'll probably update again once I'm able to process everything. Story 5. Left my cheating wife. I'm a mess and so afraid. This morning I woke up in my sister's house and I'm immediately in tears. My wife, who's 31 and I'm 35, have been together 10 years and married 7. We never had a perfect relationship, but we were both happy. We struggled to have kids, eventually doing IVF and having a gorgeous baby girl who is now 2. It seems the past 5 or so years were all about getting pregnant for her. She quit her job to reduce stress and I supported her in doing that. Financially, we've never had to worry about money because her family is wealthy and she has a trust fund, which owns our house and pays for most of our bills. Despite this, I've continued to work as a lawyer and started my own firm last year. In 2020 we were pregnant again after yet another round of IVF and she had a miscarriage, which is very rare when you're doing IVF, I'm told. I wasn't allowed in the hospital with her when it happened and she was emotionally scarred from the experience. Her parents and I suggested she should get therapy for it, but she refused. I feel like I did my best to comfort her, but she spiraled into a depression and her way of getting out of it was to seek outside affection. One of the things we would fight about was my discomfort with her having friendships with other men, all of whom she met and had been friends with for many years before me. But I felt it was inappropriate for a married woman to be so frequently texting with the opposite sex. Most days we would be home watching TV and I'd look over and she was on her phone, often texting another man. Some of these friendships were truly platonic. I don't know if she cheated in the past, but she could have. I'm a trusting and forgiving person, and I gave her too much leeway. In retrospect, I feel like an idiot for not leaving her years ago just because she wouldn't respect my wishes that she not of these relationships. We had several blowout fights over me finding that she was texting her ex-boyfriend, and sometimes I felt like she felt she could do whatever she wanted. This was also painful too because I'd say everyone that knows us would say that I am a wonderful father and husband. I truly don't know why someone I love would be so callous to me, but she has been. After the miscarriage, we started to drift further apart. We didn't have a great sex life before, but after that it drifted from a few times a week to once or twice a month. I lost interest and so did she. We both admitted that we didn't enjoy sleeping together. She is very beautiful, but for some reason I just stopped wanting to have sex with her and she stopped trying too. I began to resent the fact that she didn't work and would spend her days napping or watching TV while I worked in our home office. Our daughter is in full-time daycare and we have a weekly maid service, so she doesn't have a lot of responsibility. Anyway, in September 2020 she told me she was going to visit a friend in California. In reality, she saw her ex and later admitted they kissed, but it was probably more than that. I found out when I found texts on her phone about it a month later. We almost divorced, but we decided to work it out. So the past 6 months were better. She went to therapy for her grief about the miscarriage and we talked about couples counseling, but she wanted to work on herself first. I felt like things were getting better. We bought a new house and had a big party for our daughter's 2nd birthday. And she invited this guy, a friend she hadn't spoken to in years but had reconnected with on Facebook. Of course I was annoyed, but 10 years of conditioning and fighting told me I couldn't object. Well, now she is having an affair with him and says she is in love. Of course I found out by snooping. Even after being caught, she denied it and gaslighted me for days. When she finally admitted it, she said she wanted an open marriage. I considered it. I'd enjoy having new partners as well, but as we discussed it the next day or so, I realized that that kind of relationship only works if you place your primary partner above all else, so my wishes should always be first. I told her I would be open to it but not with this guy, because it made me uncomfortable that she said she loved him. She refused to stop seeing him and acted as if I was unreasonable. Day before yesterday was day 3 after I knew she'd been cheating. We agreed to this open situation, but I was still unhappy. I found myself crying uncontrollably multiple times a day. For one day she put on the facade of telling me I was her number one and she doted on me all day. At the end of the day she announced that once our daughter was in bed she was going to his place. This upset me and I started crying. She said okay fine, I won't go, and then pouted for the next few hours. Finally I just told her to leave because I knew that's what she wanted. So she left. I woke up at 2 a.m. alone with our baby crying. I called her and told her I missed her and would like her to come home. She was very annoyed and said she would be home before our daughter woke up, I guess thinking what I cared about was her helping as a parent rather than me wanting my companion. When she came home yesterday she was cold to me. It was like night and day compared to the day before. I wasn't her number one and she said she needed to think about what she wanted. I asked her to work with me on this open marriage thing and to understand how hurt I am. I asked that she not have overnight stays with him and she argued with me that there was no difference. This made me realize that an open marriage wouldn't work because she doesn't respect my wishes. She loves him and it doesn't seem like she loves me anymore. So I packed a bag and took my daughter to my sister's house. Since I left, she hasn't made any effort to reach out to me other than to ask how our daughter is. I woke up this morning to a text asking when I was coming home. I responded that I wasn't because you don't want me anymore. It's been over an hour with no response. I'm a mess, but I guess it's better not being there. I just can't believe this is happening. I feel so sad and alone and betrayed. I'm fearful about my future because she owns everything and I signed a prenup that says I get nothing but what I came in with, which was nothing. So now I'm 35, starting over with nothing. But I also miss her and desperately want her to reach out and tell me she loves me. I'm sure she's happy I'm gone though. I just ask God what I did to deserve this. How could someone I love hurt me so badly? FYI. For anyone wondering, I took my daughter with me, but I am not preventing my wife from seeing her. If she called right now wanting to pick her up, it would be fine. It's very telling to me that she hasn't.